Thanks for tuning in to the All Funds Network podcast. Today we're here with Ryan Eisenman, CEO and co-founder of Arch, a company modernizing private market investment management. Arch makes private investing secure, efficient, and standardized for advisors, individuals, and tax experts. Today, Arch has reached $170 billion in private market assets and currently serves thousands of families and institutions. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Kick it off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? How'd you, start Arch? What's the founding story?
Yeah. So a little over 7 years ago, pitched the kind of early kernel of this idea to a venture capitalist who was like, yes, I have this problem. I sold a couple companies. I've made a lot of LP investments. I work with an investment advisor, and this is a mess for me, my advisor, my tax accountant. We have to log into all these different portals. We need to get K1s to the accountant, capital calls we need to complete, distribution notices, read and understand, and all these documents are locked in these really clunky portals that I never want to go into, of the likes of like an Intralinks, a data exchange, a box.com. And he's like, it's ludicrous that every fund reports in different ways. And so we were talking about this problem, and the venture capitalist was like, if you want to solve this problem, you should also meet these two engineers. They're really smart, Jason and Joel. Maybe the three of you want to start a company together. So I met Jason and Joel in the basement of the Starbucks under the Empire State Building. I think it's gone through a renovation, but back in the day it was a little bit dingy. And we just started talking about this problem, calling advisors, calling investors, had this thesis of something needs to exist to essentially Schwabify private markets, but nothing has happened yet. So after a few months of research, we decided we wanted to start this company. The original investor wrote the first check into the company. So then we were a backed startup or a venture-backed startup. And then we had two design clients who we were able to start building this around. And we're pretty patient for the first couple of years until this started to hit product market fit and get off the ground.
Very exciting. That's really cool. And kind of the main pain points were these kind of this operational, back and forth with statements, log into portals, and you're solving. The idea was to solve for all that noise, if you will, in the marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. And we started as an operations focused company first. It's what's the work that needs to get done? I need these documents to these people. I need these actions to be taken. I need this information digitized. Over time, we've started to become more of a data and insights company. Mm-hmm. So now we can leverage AI to summarize certain information and deliver it directly into the investor's inbox, or put it in our platform, or give you graphs and charts on your investment performance. But especially rooted in what's the work that needs to be done? What are all the workflows that are clunky today that don't have to be tomorrow?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Walk us through, what was the process like for these fund managers, for service providers? Tell us what did this process look like before Arch came into the scene?
Yeah. So some of our clients have dozens, some have thousands, some have hundreds, some have 10,000s of different private investments. And what that means is someone in the back office or someone in the front office is getting an email saying, hey, you have a new document, and it's posted to Intralinks. They're then logging into Intralinks or to another type of portal. Oftentimes they need to reset their password. They need to search the portal to find the document. Then eventually they actually get the document. Then the real work begins of okay, now I want to read this investor update to know what it means. I need to read this account statement and add the new number into my spreadsheet or my reporting system. I need to read the capital call notice. Okay, I have $5,000 that needs to go out the door in 10 days. So these workflows start with getting the information, and then there actually is work that needs to be done off of each document. And we believe that each document has a workflow that today is pretty manual and tomorrow could be automated. So what Arch does is we get every document from every portal on a daily basis. We digitize all the key financial documents. We even digitize and summarize the qualitative documents. So investor letters, quarterly reports. We give people a view of their, you can call it LP level data of, I made these commitments and these investments are worth X dollars. And then we also give the folks asset level data as well, if that's something that they're interested in, of here's my exposure to SpaceX and Stripe and Rippling and these companies. I might have exposure directly by directly investing in the company, or I might have exposure through one or multiple different types of funds.
Yeah, that's really cool. What were the I know you had a few design partners when you first started the company. What were the kind of the top pressing painful workflow that you solved initially? What was that? Was it a couple? Was it just the main core theme? What were your thoughts there?
Yeah. So we started for the first 6 months as an exclusively tax-focused company.
Okay.
We had this broader vision, but it's like we need to start with something that's very focused, measurable, achievable to start. So all we were doing is helping them collect their dozens or hundreds of K1s, creating a digital central repository of all the K1s, giving the accountant access, the investor access, and the advisor access. Seems really simple. Didn't exist then, still mostly doesn't exist outside of Arch today.
Yeah.
And we're essentially solving the like tax coordination problem, because we found that like the tax accountant that was looking for 100 K1s would send an email to the advisor or the investor, then the investor or advisor then need to log into the portals and go get the tax documents. No one wants to do the work. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of emailing. It's insecure. So we solved that problem first and then started addressing all the other types of documents and other adjacent workflows.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, from Mike and I's side, we were in the fund admin space for a long time, so we can definitely understand the pain that you're
Test to that.
yeah, everybody has with tax forms, K1s, all the different things, right?
Yeah, and we love fund admins. Standish Management has been one of our longest serving clients. We just recently announced a partnership with Ultimus Leverpoint.
Oh, amazing.
They've been a great client. Have a couple others that aren't announced. So we love that space because fund admins oftentimes the focus there is on fund of funds or fund admins serving RIAs or sometimes fund admins doing asset servicing work for families and institutions. And they have that exact same pain point. And often they're doing the work and their clients doing the work. So actually the work is duplicated. And you're kind of doing this multiple times without an Arch.
Yeah. Can I ask, when you guys first started, like, obviously there wasn't many people doing this, right? And there still isn't, as we talk about this in 2025. What were you pointing to as like, for validation is like, obviously you had a lot of potential clients, some are few, folks you early on. What did that look like as you started out? I'm just curious because that always gets brought up. All this stuff is so painful, but yet the market really hasn't adopted everything at full scale yet, right? Which is a great opportunity for you guys, obviously, but.
Yeah. And I think especially at the beginning, people are like, okay, cool. Like sounds like that's a pain point, but I don't know that many people with that pain point, or maybe I think I'm unique. So we got a lot of advice early on of, well, not sure if that's a venture scalable business.
Yeah.
That might be a nice lifestyle business. Maybe it's like something you do with a small team, but like, I don't know if it really makes sense to have venture capital dollars deployed into this market. That's changed a bit over the last 7 years, where now I think one, like private markets are proliferating and there's a lot more people investing in private markets. And two, it's like, okay, now there's a bigger understanding of what the problem set is, what the market is, and that the market is big enough to sustain a company here. And there's like adjacent things that we should help our clients with that aren't being addressed today. And we're better at telling our story of what we can do from here. That being said, it's a hard problem, and we put a lot of R&D resources in. We put a lot of operations resources in to automating these workflows and getting this information and processing it on a daily basis and never missing that same day SLA and service level agreement for those that avoid jargon. And we've seen a lot of people over our 7 years enter and exit the market, which is like really interesting to see. I was talking to someone about an hour ago who was like, yeah, we're starting to do some stuff in your space, and we didn't realize the level of nuance and how difficult it is of how every fund reports in different ways. Every fund admin reports in different ways. Every portal hides their documents in different subfolders in different places. And so it's really painful to build a solution, but it's even more painful to be an end client. So that's why it's worthwhile for us to like really invest in the client experience and automate these painful workflows for our clients.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So tell us about the client stack, if you will. Obviously, it sounds like it'd make a lot of sense for like a fund administrator to work with you guys. Sounds like it'd make a lot of sense for like RIA to work with you guys. Kind of how does the workflow go in terms of, maybe you guys are working with a private equity company. They use some platform. You guys are working with the fund admin. They use a different platform. All right, same kind of thing. how does it go? Like, do you guys work with the fund? Do you guys work with the admin? Do you guys work, kind of how does that, if that question makes sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So today, 350 clients. Our clients are predominantly on the LP side. So about 100 of those clients are RAs and multifamily offices that are buying Arch for their organizations and then giving the Arch interface to their end clients. A big part of our focus is giving the advisor a dashboard, the client a dashboard, the accountant a dashboard for the things that they need to do. About 100 of our clients are true single family offices that have hundreds of millions of alternative investments on average and need solutions to manage those. We work with 4 of the top 20 global banks in various ways. A couple of them have rolled us out across their like wealth management and family office and trust company spaces. Some are referral partners. A few different ways we engage with banks. Love fund admins. Love the broader institutional space, including fund of funds. That's a decently large chunk of our business. And then we also work with individuals that wouldn't quite be a family office, but have a lot of these pain points. And so at the end of the day, it's just about serving the wealth holder, the institution, the advisor, the accountant, anyone in this frame, whether it's a single person who holds all these roles, who's dealing with tax, treasury, making investment decisions, or it's distinct teams and like hundreds or thousands of people who are touching these workflows.
Yeah.
And then the data flow, how does it get into your system? Is one particular, or how are you guys like fetching that data and delivering it through your system?
Yeah, so we have built a lot of automation to go get documents from the portals. Once we have the documents, to read the documents, to standardize the data, and then to make that data available both in our system of how we visualize it and then in downstream systems. So we do a lot of work partnering with accounting systems, reporting systems, CRMs, just build a Salesforce integration in order for people to be able to get their tasks and their data into the systems that they use. We built our own API that's live that people can write to. That was a 2024 initiative. And then we're partnering with GPs and fund admins on the other side in a couple ways. So one is building first of its kind data feeds for them to feed good data downstream to their clients to allow them to visualize it and allow them to also report on that data and leverage some of the reporting integrations that Arch has already built. We're also partnering with GPs as clients beyond just fund of funds. And so a lot of times GPs will have their own, internal fund of funds for either ecosystem funds or others. But then GPs are LPs too. Their employees have ownership in their funds. Their partners often have their own outside private investments. They have LPs that need this data in a good visual way. So we're doing a lot more of allowing GPs to leverage some of the tool set of Arch in order to create better internal and external experiences around their information, especially as more funds spend more of their time marketing and working with the broader like retail and wealth management world.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. There's a lot of nuances, obviously, in this space, as we all know, data siloed everywhere, and different types of funds too, different accounting systems. I'm curious. You mentioned no standardization. That's definitely alive and well in our industry currently today. But what does a typical mandate look like? Someone comes to you, you guys have a conversation. It's a RIA, family office, fund admin group. They say, "Hey, we want to do this. We want to integrate everything." Obviously, it can be different for every case, but just curious as an example for someone who's looking to take the journey, what does that look like?
Yeah. So they come to us and they say, "Hey, we have 80, 100, 8,000 alternative investments, and this is just not scaling for us. This process is breaking. These people are leaving. It's the worst part of our employees' jobs, and we want something better."
Right.
It's like, great. We have folks sign up for Arch. Then they send their list of investments. We do the vast majority of the onboarding work. Onboarding is generally the worst part of every experience of working with any kind of service provider, technology company, et cetera. We want to change that paradigm and make onboarding a strength for us. And that's a huge strategic priority for us in a place that we're putting a lot of our R&D dollars into. And then we also put a lot of our services dollars into. It's the most expensive process at Arch. It's the place that we spend the most time to make it as easy as possible for our clients and their clients. We then, once we have their information, we validated it. We have a digital process around getting the right signatures and then presenting letters of authorization to every fund that we need to connect with. and then have a lot of like really strong relationships and integrations already kind of built and turnkey, and connect to hundreds of different platforms, tens of thousands of unique managers, in order to kind of streamline those processes and make it easy to start working with us.
That's great. And this season, as far as private investments, we're talking funds, SPVs, all different types of structures that people have.
Yeah, venture, private equity, credit, real estate, hedge funds. We do direct investments. You can add offline assets into the platform that are like alternative investments, but don't share the same characteristics of being a reporting asset. We enrich the data once it's in the system. And then we're starting to do a little bit more around like workflows for other types of tax documents like 1099s as well, and getting those documents into the system, just because that's like a painful thing for our clients today. So vernacular wise, a lot of people talk about private markets and alternative investments. It's kind of a mix of both. We think there isn't really the perfect term for the next wave of private markets investments, because if you say private markets, it excludes hedge funds, but we address hedge funds. So kind of starting to think about if there's better terms and better terminology for this market as well.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of nuances across the board there to have to contend with moving forward. Is there any nuances or any trends that you're seeing that are maybe surprising or that you didn't really think about as you guys got into the weeds here on different opportunities?
Yeah. When we started the company, we just thought that there were a lot of people and organizations that needed help, where these processes just like were not scaling well. I don't think we realized how much of a trend there would be into private equity firms and other types of asset managers than targeting the like retail consumer wealth management space and the advisor community. I think there were something like less than a dozen folks of the top 20 private equity firms focused on the RA channel 5 years ago, and now there's probably thousands. And so it's a huge change in the focus of where new dollars are coming from into this industry, which means it's a different level of and a different type of investor that's getting exposure. And those investors are like expecting to have digital tools to have this match their brokerage account, have this match the Four Seasons website, have this match their like the United app or the Delta app. And instead they're getting interlinks. And so I think that there's now this like industry shift in, okay, well, the current paradigm around reporting isn't sustainable and isn't beneficial to those that are in this market. And you need like good tools that can work at an enterprise level, but have a like consumer level of feel and a modern interface on them.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the pandemic really pushed the digitization of our industry in a good way. Everything was obviously bad about the pandemic, but what was good, what came out of it was digitization, push for automation of all these processes that have been, fax machines, all these things that people have been using in the space, from LP letters, all these things that have been happening. And now it's moving to this better, more mature technological environment, shall we say, which is exciting to see.
Yep. And as you can see from the background behind me, we're 100% in office culture. So like we're in the office, there's people walking behind us. We think that we can collaborate and innovate a lot faster by being in person. A lot of our calls and a lot of our engagements that start with Zoom. We have a national, actually like solid international client base. And then we try to get in front of clients in person and travel a decent amount. But think that there's a lot of value to having digital tools, but also like an in-person work environment.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because I think people have a different perspective depending on who you talk to, remote work versus in the office.
Yeah. I just saw something. Amazon's making everybody go back. I think I saw this week. Where are you guys based out of?
Based entirely in New York City.
Very nice. Yeah.
Very cool.
How big's the team on your guys' side?
About 115 people today. Started last year at about 60, 65 people. And then we probably have about a dozen people that are set to start in the next month or two. And then are actively hiring across sales, engineering, operations, product, different roles within the team. And then a decent number of folks, especially less technical folks. So kind of building both like the technology side of the business, but also the like client service side of the business. A lot of folks are coming from the types of clients we serve, from banks, from investment advisors. And they're like, I've been doing this manually, or I've been like working at JP Morgan and spend a month trying to change this header on this report. And I want to be in a place where when I have feedback, when there's things that I see should change, I can talk to someone and it can change today or this week. And so that's a big focus for us as a firm.
Yeah, that's cool. Talk to us about, you mentioned earlier about AI, and you guys use AI in some workflows. Can you talk to us about how you utilize AI or generative AI today?
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking to an asset manager right before the holidays, and they're like, we do demos with tech firms all the time. We're looking for a new portal. Everyone's talking about AI, but this is the first AI I've actually seen implemented in this context. So what we're doing, and a lot of use cases, but one that I'll just highlight is summarizing the key qualitative information in quarterly reports, investor letters, capital calls, and emails in order to give investors a very quick view on what do they need to know about their investments. So you might get a 100-page quarterly report or a 10-page investor letter, has a lot of information in it. The AI that we've engineered is really good at pulling out, here's the bulleted list of the key changes, the valuation changes, personnel changes, market commentary, and being able to tailor that to what each individual investor is interested in. So there's some settings you can actually toggle of like, I want more AI, I want less, I want bigger paragraphs, I want smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And then able to kind of take that information and help people just like understand their investments so they can make better decisions. And we're in an environment where there's so much information and so much to pay attention to. So it's hard to find signal in the broader noise. So a big focus of Arch is creating that signal, telling people what is important, and then giving them the tools if they want to dive deeper in order to find more information.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. Very cool. On that note, are you, what other type of industry trends are you guys seeing? Because I obviously it sounds like you guys have a lot of data. Are you seeing particular investments that people are more interested in? Are you guys seeing dollars flow towards specific sectors or types of funds, things like that?
Yeah, a lot of credit fund investments. Hedge funds seem to be like marginally coming more back in vogue. And then private equity continues to be really strong and be a big focus of a lot of folks' portfolios that we're supporting. And you see kind of this like private equityification of everything, where companies are staying private longer. If you look at secular trends in ages, there's a lot of industries that have a workforce or an ownership force that's starting to age out. So private equity is coming in and buying out the original business owners that have started small, medium-sized, and large businesses across healthcare and doctors' offices and dental practices. Wealth management businesses have seen a lot of private equity go into them. So it's an area that we're like keenly aware of and spend a lot of time with private equity buyers and aggregators, and lawn care, HVAC, and there's kind of private equity in all of these traditional services and technology businesses. So it's interesting to see how much the private equity industry has grown and continues to grow.
Yeah, definitely. That's exciting too. PE's been a big push for a lot of different industries. Curious from your guys' side, any innovation plans or any things you're looking to kind of develop or release to the market in 2025? Just curious on what you guys have.
No more innovation for us. No, I'm kidding. We have a lot of plans, a lot that we're going to build from here. Yeah. We have kind of like publicly shared a very small segment of what we have planned. We generally like to keep things under wraps until things are built, tested with our clients, and ready to be shipped. But we're thinking a lot about additional workflows, a lot about like the potential fraud in the industry and how to fight that, thinking about like payment implications, thinking about advanced analytics, leveraging more AI across the workflow and across the platform, and then kind of expanding into a few different verticals. So have a lot planned for this upcoming year and excited to share more soon.
Excellent. That's great. Very exciting. Yeah, obviously a lot of opportunity there, and obviously there's a lot of integrations you guys have to probably go through with the interlinks of the world, which is always a challenge to stitch it all together, right? So definitely well needed in the space.
What are some of the biggest pain points that your team faces?
Integrations are definitely a pain point. A lot of the downstream providers don't have APIs, are not like necessarily technology native. They might not have really strong services teams or strong operations teams. Our clients will sometimes say like, hey, like it's much easier for us to work with you to get this thing changed because like you take our feedback. When we talk to XYZ vendor, they don't take our feedback. And like things just go in a never ending queue that doesn't get processed. So that creates a little bit of a harder environment. It would be nice if there was like a more standard way of working together. We believe that long-term, this best-in-class ecosystem will be the ecosystem that investors will want. You want your data to be connected to your CRM and your reporting system and your general ledger and your document management system. And that's a big focus of us, is building out that like Plaid-like ecosystem in the same way that you can use Plaid or By All Accounts or Yodlee to connect your brokerage data into the applications that you need. So we're basically building that for private markets. It's just it's often a long slog to get some of these more legacy providers to start to work with you and realize that like their customers are asking for it, and this is where the like puck is metaphorically going.
Yeah, do you get a lot of pushback from like different providers out there that you're trying to integrate with, like pulling in data from a portal or whatnot? Are they open to that, or is there at least some pushback or bottlenecks there that you guys have to navigate through?
No problems on upstream providers. We're able to get essentially like every document for every portal. Very few of them have well-documented APIs, so we have to create our own automation. And then we're starting to get more of them to collaboratively come to us and be like, okay, great. Like we realize that there's a lot of volume here. Let's start to work together to make our clients' lives better. And we've had folks say like, would you provide some benefit to your end client and tell them that like basically we're helping you in order to have this reflect really well on the technology company or the custodian upstream. So a lot of momentum there. Downstream providers, we're also starting to get a lot more momentum with, just with this realization of alts really matter, alts data really matters. So you can't ignore alts and alts data and having data in your reporting platform or your general ledger. Some are just faster than others. And so there's definitely more that we can share on that front in the next couple of months around a few early movers who are starting to like really think about this and do a lot more in collaboration with our company.
That's great. Yeah. I'm assuming, is there quality a bit an issue sometimes? Depending on
a huge focus. And it's something where it's like, if you're pushing data into a downstream provider, understanding how they treat alternative investments really matters. A lot of these providers aren't actually set up to contemplate an alternative investment. They think of everything as a share-based asset. So they don't have the concept of a commitment.
Right.
And don't have like an unfunded commitment, of course, off of that, or recallable distributions, or things that might really matter around owning these assets that are starting to become major, like double-digit percentage or up to like 40 or 50% of some clients' portfolios. So sometimes that you have to figure out how this information translates into platforms that aren't set up for this type of data.
Yeah, I can imagine too, even with the hybrid structures out there too, right? Evergreen, rolling fund, or there's a lot of nuances around like what systems they use. I'm sure that comes up for you guys too.
Absolutely. And then there's always new things being created and new types of products coming out. So it's a focus on being the fastest to adapt to some of these new products as they're available.
Yeah. Do you see guys other competitors in the space coming in at this point in time? We're
seeing a decent amount of entrants and a decent amount of exits from the space as well. So there's folks that have publicly announced we're creating something in the space and are actually trying to get rid of their solution just because they found that it's really hard to do this at scale with a really high quality. But our competitive landscape is constantly shifting. 2 of our biggest competitors got bought in the last 6 months. Yeah. And so there's like a constantly changing ecosystem here.
That's what I was wondering about. There's obviously a lot of consolidation from an M&A perspective. I was curious about. Obviously, it's affecting what you guys are doing as well, but that's great.
And I think ultimately it helps what we're doing, because if you're a customer, you want to buy a solution that will be innovative, not just for 6 months, but innovative for the next 10 to 20 years, that will be around for decades to come, and that will be really stable and continually solve your problems. And that's our focus, is being a long-term provider of innovative solutions to this space. We have a lot more plan that we want to build, a lot more to do long-term. And so we kind of think of each customer relationship as a deep partnership, both on like serving them today, but also understanding what their future needs are and understanding how we can address them in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How do you guys go about collecting customer feedback, and kind of what's your approach to dealing with customers' feedback?
We love customer feedback. Ask for it all the time. We ask for it on like onboarding calls, check-in calls, when our account management team works with clients, when the sales team interacts with clients. And that's one of the most important things to us, is understanding how people think about the current and future product. We just launched a customer advisory board, had our first meeting in Q4. And so it's a twice yearly group of folks that get together to share ideas on the future of the product. We are doing different kinds of like smaller seminars. Whenever we're building a new solution, we ask customers for feedback on it, especially customers that said, I'm really interested in X, so that we can go and like build the right thing for our customers. Then once something has been built, we soft launch it with the first group of beta customers, get their feedback, continually iterate on things. And because we know it's not just like, here's the spec, we're going to put up this house and it's going to be perfect. We want to make sure that the product really fits customers' needs, buttons are where they need to be, interactions are what need to happen, and understand that this is a like long-term journey that we want to continually improve as a company.
Yeah, definitely. From a jurisdiction point of view, I know you guys are based in New York. You guys have global clients. Obviously, each jurisdiction can have different reporting requirements too. From LP perspective or GP, I'm just curious if that's kind of come into your world as a narrative as well.
Yeah, our big focus is on the US, especially from a go-to-market perspective. So we spend most of our time all across the US though. So a lot of business in the Southeast. California is a pretty big hub for us. Chicago, Texas, Nashville, major kind of cities within the country. Of course, on the East Coast where we're based today. And then we do have some international clients. It hasn't been a focus from a go-to-market perspective, because we think that like the US business has a lot of room to run. But folks have found us. And so we have a decent number of clients in South America and Asia and in other jurisdictions, Middle East as well.
Awesome.
Does language ever, not so much like communicating with people, but maybe seeing like a statement that's written in French or things like that, does that play any role?
We've found workarounds for this, or kind of ways to process it. We don't have that as one of our product specs of we can solve your language problems of statements in different languages. But we've been able to mostly solve that for clients that have had different language statements, and more as like an edge case rather than like the core rule.
Ryan, we covered a lot here. Anything that anything else you want to talk about, or anything else you want people to know about Arch?
You guys are great. Really appreciate the time. I would just say, like, if you're a current client, we love your feedback. If you're a future client or someone that's working in this space that has problems around workflows, data, understanding alternative investments, thinking about how to leverage AI in your organizations, we're always happy to chat. We would love your feedback on places we can go to solve problems in the future. If you're looking to find us, you can find us on LinkedIn. Our website's arch.co, arch.co. Drop us a line. There's a contact form. You actually book time directly on our calendar. And we'd love to have a conversation around how we can learn with you and solve more problems in the future.
That's amazing. Yeah, we'll make sure to include all that in the show notes. Ryan, this has been great. Great conversation today.
Thanks, Skyler.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Really appreciate your time.